Yeah, so I hope some of you had a chance to relax today. Maybe some of you had a chance to see family. Maybe you had to go to work. I hope it wasn't too much of a hard day. Today, we are going to talk about a common situation that can be really scary or anxiety inducing for some speakers. So this was something I experienced tonight while coaching one of my clients. She and I were going over it, doing some role play. And I said, oh, you know what? This would make a really good topic for the live tonight, especially because I have my Speak with Confidence Challenge coming up March 10th through the 14th. So for anyone who is tired of struggling with nervousness when it comes to public speaking, this challenge is for you. It's going to be an interactive challenge with daily challenges that we're going to do in the private Facebook group that I have set up for it. But today why is my connection acting funny? My connection should not be acting weird. But we're going to talk about one common challenge. And my Toastmasters, you going to say hey? Going to say hello? I'm going to start in another second or two. I just thought that this would be a really valuable topic because if my client had it, then I know other people are dealing with it as well. And if you have not encountered this yet, just wait a little bit. You will. The longer you speak, you will run into a lot of things that other speakers have gone to. It's kind of just par for the course, just things that happen. So it's better to be prepared, to face them head on, to think about them sooner than later, what you would do, how you would approach that situation for when you do face, for when you are right in the thick of it. All right, I'm going to get going. But today, what we're going to talk about is answering questions from a combative or hostile audience member. Answering questions from a hostile or combative audience member. How do you handle that situation if you are having a Q&A segment during your presentation? Because this does happen. It's something that we don't ever want to have to face. We don't want to imagine ourselves being in that type of situation, dealing with a question from a combative or hostile audience member. But these things do happen. And before I go into some of the steps that you can take for how to handle that, I'm going to let you know what brought me to talk about this today. So one of my clients, she is a director for a Black History Museum. I love museums, like museums period, ever since I was a kid. So it's very cool that I have a client who's a director of a Black History Museum. And she is going to be the featured speaker for a fireside chat at an event that's coming up very soon. And we were talking about how to approach that event. There's going to be someone there, the host, who is going to be speaking to her. They're going to have some questions, of course, for her to answer. They're just going to have a conversation. And then after that, there's going to be a portion where audience members can ask my client questions as well. Now, you might be wondering, well, what is the focus or what is the theme? I can tell you that one of the questions, and this is the main one that my client is concerned about, it has to do with the Confederate statues. Now, you probably know that over the last few years, that's just been a hot issue. It's been a topic that's been in the news often. What do some of the cities, the states want to do with their Confederate statues? Some of them, they have protests. There are people who want to get rid of the statues. That's definitely not the case with every state, but some of the states, especially the southern states, that's an issue that has come up. So her museum that she is the director of, they are a part of this. They are one of, or the main group, I guess you could say, deciding what to do with some of the Confederate statues in her area. So she knows that this is going to be one of the questions. She's anticipating that an audience member will ask this question. So how do you approach that? Because of course she wants to be respectful. She's not just someone up there who's representing herself, who's just an expert talking on the issue. No, she is also representing her museum, her organization. So she does have to be mindful of how she goes about answering questions, controversial questions. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you answer an audience member that is combative, that could be hostile, the question that they're asking? So I'm going to give you a few steps, okay? And these are things that she and I actually talked about because I did a role play with her. It was an impromptu question that I brought up. We talked about some of her concerns. She didn't realize I was going to ask this question to her suddenly, but I wanted to see how she would respond in that moment. How would she answer that? Not just her answer, but her demeanor as well. So here's the first step. And then I made sure, because I don't want to forget them, I wrote them all down here for me. But number one, you do not want to become combative or hostile yourself when you are answering the audience member back. I know sometimes there is this attitude or this saying across the internet now, oh, we're going to match energy with energy. Well, no, we don't always need to do that. And I'm not even just talking about public speaking. I'm talking about in other areas of our life as well. Why don't you be the person that is able to shift the conversation or shift the tone, the energy of that conversation? We don't always have to match what other people are bringing to it. And the same goes for when you're in a situation where you are being asked a question from a combative or hostile audience member. Number one, you don't want to have that same attitude back, okay? Number two, thank them for asking the question. And I loved that my client did that. She didn't just thank the audience member during our role play. She also thanked them for their honesty, their transparency. I thought she went a step above and beyond with that, because when someone is upset about that, a situation or a topic or issue, and you can hear all the emotions going, I think the last thing that they expect to hear from the person that they're directing their anger from is for that person to thank them and say, thank you for your honesty and your transparency. Thank you for your vulnerability in asking this question. That approach disarms someone. Do you hear what I'm saying? It disarms someone. It helps to lower the defenses is what I'm saying. It's like, oh, they're not engaging in this with me in a hostile way. So most likely that person, I'm not saying that they're suddenly going to become nice and friendly, but at least it's going to give them pause. It's going to lower the defenses a little bit. Next, it's okay to acknowledge that this is a tough or controversial issue. You know it is. That audience member knows it is. Other people in the audience knows it is as well. And it's okay to say that, hey, I know this is it's a passionate issue. It's a controversial issue where there are strong opinions, strong viewpoints on both sides of it. And in her situation where we're talking about Confederate statues, that's definitely true. There are strong viewpoints, strong opinions on both sides of it. Whether it's right or wrong, however you feel about it is one thing, but people have their feelings, they have their opinions about it, about an issue either way. So it's okay to acknowledge that this is a tough issue to talk about. It's a controversial issue. Next, stick to what you know. Stick to the facts, in other words. Let's talk about that, because it is very much so too easy to get stuck into an emotional argument with the person asking the question, with the audience member. And this is something that my client and I talked about as well. And I loved when she did the role play and answered the question, she stuck to the facts of it. Yes, she could have got into this is what I feel, and maybe even she could have speculated if she wanted to, which I don't advise that. If you don't know something for sure, don't even get to that. She stuck to the facts of the answer. Someone might get into an argument with you about something that is subjective, but the fact that you're giving them just the facts, how can they dispute that? They can try if they want to, but the facts are the facts. So she stuck to that, and I applauded her for that. We don't want to get into guessing about the future or, again, speculating. What can you actually tell this person now? That's what you need to give them. Stick to the facts of it. And then let's talk about boundaries, because we do need to talk about that. You want to keep the conversation focused on the actual question that was asked. That's what you're going to answer. It is very easy for someone to ask one question and then it veers off into this rapid fire almost of asking some other questions, and the conversation goes in a completely different direction. It's absolutely what you don't want to do. So you have to get very strong, be very firm about keeping that question, that conversation focused on the question at hand, what that person asked. And it's a skill that you'll be able to practice over time. The first time you run into the situation, sometimes it's easy to get off track, but the more you do this, you have to deal with questions that are of a touchy nature. You're going to get more comfortable with that. So keep the conversation focused on the question at hand. You don't want things to go off the rails into a bunch of other areas. And then let me give you a bonus. Is there a call to action that you can throw back at that audience member? Is there a call to action that you can give that audience member? It doesn't have to be anything complicated, but it can help to leave the conversation on a good note where they can possibly get more information. So in my client's case, she said, I invite you to sign up for our newsletter so you can always be kept in the loop about what's happening with the Confederate statue issue. That's where you're going to be able to get a lot of information. You'll be able to stay on top of it. And I thought that was a great way that she ended her answer. So for you, maybe it's not sign up for the newsletter. Perhaps it's come and attend the city council meeting, for example, or perhaps it is take our survey. Maybe you have a survey that's going out and you're gathering different opinions, or you know what I mean, about the topic. So it just depends on the conversation you're having, the answer that you're giving, but you can give a call to action as well. And that's something that the audience member will probably really appreciate. So these are my steps for how to handle an audience member that is combative, that is hostile. If you have not run into that issue now, trust me, you most likely will. Especially if this is a touchy issue, a controversial topic that you are speaking on, this is going to be a skill that you'll want to hone over time. How do you handle questions like that? It can make someone who is not used to this, a speaker that is new, this can make them very nervous. It can make you anxious to even be in that type of situation. You feel like you are put on the spot. I don't ever want any speaker to feel that way. So I have a challenge coming up next month. If you are a speaker who is struggling with nervousness when it comes to public speaking situations, because it happens, I invite you to join my Speak with Confidence Challenge next month, March 10th through the 14th. And this is going to be an interactive challenge. So we are going to make sure that you are actually going through real life daily challenges that are going to build your confidence up as a speaker. It will be in a private Facebook group that I have set up for the challenge. And I'm going to go live in the group. So every day you're going to have a different lesson that is going to be focused on something that has to do with an area of public speaking that causes anxiety for most people. We're going to talk about how to handle that. And then you're going to do the challenge that is for that topic that day. Some of the challenges will be in the group and some of them will be public facing, because I want you to come out of your comfort zone. I want you to feel ready for any public speaking challenge that comes up. So this is going to be a good real world way to approach that, because you need to actually speak to get better at speaking and to feel more confident. That's just the truth of the matter. You can't read about it. You can't watch a ton of YouTube videos. That's a good start, but you actually have to speak, and these daily challenges are going to help you to build up that confidence. So March 10th through 14th, the challenge starts. Registration is open today, and the challenge is only $47. And this is for 5 days. We're going to go through that. 5 days. So whether you are a new or emerging speaker, I invite you to join us in that group. But I have it in my bio where you can join us. You can sign up for the Speak with Confidence Challenge. I would love to see you there. But let me stop here because I see we still have some people on. Are there any questions that we have about today's topic, dealing with a combative or hostile audience member who asks a question? Or are there any questions about the Speak with Confidence Challenge I have coming up? So any questions related to any of those two areas, pop them here in the comments. And I have a minute or two, and I'll answer your question. But I'll give it another minute, see what you guys have. I see some new faces here, some I'm not familiar with, but thank you for attending. It is awesome. Anthony Vanscom, hey, how are you, sir? Ron interacts with me a lot. Good to see you. All right, it looks like there are no questions. Well, again, thank you for attending tonight, and you do not have to let the fear of getting a question from an upset audience member, you don't have to let that cripple you with fear. It's something that we all have to deal with at some point. Again, especially if it's a controversial topic. But just being prepared, knowing how to approach that is going to help allay your fears when you're actually in that situation. I will see you all soon on another live. And again, if speaking is a challenge, you're tired of the nervousness, I invite you to join my Speak with Confidence Challenge that is coming up next month. You do not have to let that be your fear, anything that's holding you back from being the best speaker that you can be. So we're going to talk about real world situations and how to handle it. We're going to talk about impromptu speaking. Speaking on the spot is a big fear for a lot of people. We're going to talk about prepared speaking situations. We're going to talk about your body. We're going to talk about handling situations that can come up in the middle of your presentation. What do you do? How do you handle that? So we're going to discuss all of that. But for now, I will see you all soon. Have a great rest of your day.